This TTRPG keeps getting recommended to me, so I finally played it, and it taught me so much about being a better D&D DM. I'm going to share 17 things you can learn from it to level up your DMing. As I'm sharing these tips, I'm going to be leaving some clues about the TTRPG. They're going to get easier as we go, so comment with the timestamp when you know what it is. But don't spoil it for everyone else. Before we dive into the first tip, which is monster mutations, I need to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Describe. Their holiday sale starts December 22nd. No matter which TTRPG you're playing, Describe can help elevate your games. Welcome to the table. I'm Kelly, and I want to play a game. It's called Guess the TTRPG. Let's go. If your players have played D&D for any length of time, then they're probably sick of fighting another group of goblins or bandits. Sure, you can keep finding more and more unique monsters, but sometimes you need a quick encounter using basic monsters. This TTRPG offers a monster mutation table that you can use to quickly make any basic monster a little more unique. Your players have fought goblins, but have they fought goblins with wings? Or a mimic that can speak common? Or a bandit that's been blessed by a god? Some of these might add interesting combat mechanics, but more importantly, all of them add interesting story hooks. Why does this goblin have wings? We need to find out. Adding a twist to a common monster also keeps your players on their toes, which is lesson number 2 from this TTRPG. Be unpredictable. I'll bet you've always wanted to see the underside of my table, you perverts. Alright. I gotta get out of here. It's very uncomfortable. This doesn't mean that you constantly need to come up with novel monsters, storylines, and locations every session. That's not sustainable. It can be as simple as adding wings to a goblin or adding a but statement to a location description. Like you enter the busy tavern, but as you look around, you see that no one is eating or drinking. This doesn't just extend to the content that you put into your game world, but can also extend into how you run the game. If the players know they can win every fight, they don't have any reason to get creative with their problem solving. Every combat encounter doesn't need to be, and maybe shouldn't be, balanced. If the players have to run from a few fights, it'll make the hard-won victories that much sweeter. That's why this game doesn't really have encounter balance guidance aside from some general stuff. But if you're going to be looser with encounter balance, then it's crucial that you do the next tip properly so that your players can assess the danger for themselves and decide how they want to engage. Telegraphing danger is something this system explicitly talks about right at the beginning of the GM section. Of course, telegraphing danger is not unique to this system, but it is one of the core tenets of the game. Don't make threats a secret. Make it easy to gather information about a threat. This gives your players the power to make a real decision, and if things go poorly for them, it won't feel unfair because they had all the information but still chose to engage. Something that's unique to this system, as far as I know, is that none of the playable races have dark vision. This makes it very easy to add tension. Just threaten the party's light source. In D&D, it feels like every character has the ability to see in the dark, so obviously you can't directly put this in your D&D game, but there are lots of ways that you can obscure vision in D&D, like fog, magical darkness, smoke, some mysterious magical gas, etc. The takeaway lesson is that if the player characters are blinded by something, but they have a way to overcome it, like a magical lantern, you can create tension by threatening to take away their special little item. Adding these more abstract challenges to your game can get your players to start thinking creatively and solving problems using their imaginations instead of just what's on the sheet in front of them. But it's not enough to just throw these challenges out there. That's only the half of it. The other half is another core tenet of this game, and that's to reward player creativity. If one of your players comes up with a creative solution to a problem and you shut it down, that player probably isn't going to bother anymore. But rewarding their creativity also doesn't mean just letting them get away with whatever they want. There's a common trap that you have to watch out for. Oftentimes, players come up with creative solutions that they expect will bypass an encounter completely. Then the DM, not wanting the players to be able to completely bypass an encounter, will just shut the player down and say it doesn't work. The real magic trick is to take your player's creative idea and make it give the party a benefit without completely bypassing the encounter. It can be hard to do, but the next time you have the urge to shut down an idea, instead try having it give the players advantage for a round, or maybe giving the party a respite in combat for one round. A small benefit that still rewards the player's creativity without completely bypassing the encounter. The idea of rewarding the players comes up in a few ways throughout the system. Another one that I think is so important is the advice to reward player investment. If a PC learns Abyssal, put some text in Abyssal in the world. If they spend 5 sessions carrying around a special elven rope that they were gifted, give them a cliff face as an obstacle. If you need inspiration for what to put into a session, browse your players' inventories and abilities. It may inspire you and it'll reward their choices. It can feel really good as a player to agonize over a decision between a 10-foot pole and a bunch of rope and choose one and then have the perfect situation arise where you can be the hero and use that perfect item. Another way to reward the players is to make sure everyone at the table is getting time in the spotlight. And this system has a very simple solution for that you might already be doing. But first, let's take a look through the new UI in Opus, the music and sound effects tool from the sponsor of today's video, Describe. And I also want to share the details of their holiday sale. From December 22nd to 29th, you can get 25% off the first year of an annual subscription with the code HOLIDAYS2025. Describe partnered with Michael Gelfi Studios to bring their massive library of music and sound effects into an easy-to-use web app. They've now launched a complete UI overhaul with a new dark theme, and I think it looks awesome. Describe can be used to level up any gaming experience, no matter which system you play. They have descriptions for characters, items, spells, monsters, and locations, all of which can be used directly at the table or as inspiration for your own writing. I find that every time I read through location or character descriptions, I get a flurry of adventure ideas just based on the descriptions. Once I find a description that inspires me, I can bring it into Opus, create a new block for it, and then start adding music and sound effects to really bring it to life. Then when I'm ready to run that part of my adventure, everything is ready to go in one place. Another very cool thing is that if you subscribe to the Hero or Celestial annual plan for 1 year, you get lifetime access to all descriptions that were available during that year. Head to the link down in the description to check it out and use the code PowerWordSpill to get an extended 30-day free trial. ABI. Always be in initiative. The idea of staying in initiative outside of combat is pretty common in this game's subgenre, but this system takes it a bit further. Again, this is something small that you're probably already doing, but being conscious of it can really make sure that everyone at the table is getting time to shine, which can increase engagement. The idea is simple. You always play in turns, even outside of combat. This initiative is much looser, but the idea is the same. Once the party enters a new place, give a brief description, and then go around the table in turn and ask each player what they want to do. Then go back and resolve each action one by one. This makes sure that every player has a chance to do something, and it also increases engagement because each of your players can be thinking in more detail about exactly what they want to do when it comes to their turn. In this game, when you create a character, you must roll your stats in order. This is another feature that's common in the subgenre, and I think it's really fun. It encourages you to try out different classes based on your stats, rather than always just playing the same class.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Now, you definitely shouldn't force this on your group, but if you pitch it to them with the unique character creation mechanic that we'll talk about later in the video, they might go for it. So far, I've talked about a lot of lessons you can learn from this system, but I haven't shared anything that you can literally take and directly put into your game. But there are lots of things that you can directly take. Lots and lots of them, in fact. And they come in the form of roll tables. There are so many roll tables in this game, which means that you can make up pretty much anything on the fly, from monsters to encounters to NPCs to whole towns. Having access to so many roll tables can make you feel more comfortable going completely off book for an adventure, or not starting with the book to begin with. They're a great safety net to keep next to you if you find yourself struggling to think of something cool in the moment. Curating a set of roll tables to keep in your DM kit is an excellent use of your prep time, and you can get a bunch of these tables in the free starter set for this game, which I'll show you at the end of this video. Speaking of roll tables, there is a lot of dice rolling in this game. It encourages you to roll damage instead of using an average, roll for loot, roll for random encounters, but as much as it encourages you to roll, it also encourages you not to roll, or at least not to call for a roll sometimes. Another two tenets of the game are that the GM should reward player knowledge as well as character knowledge, and the PCs should auto-succeed sometimes. Even though they're related, we'll look at each of these separately. Sometimes in TTRPGs, we separate player and character knowledge, and that can be fun, but this game gives your players full permission to metagame, and that's fun in a different way. If you've played D&D for a while, you probably know that you should check the door to the BBEG's lair for traps. And according to this game, if you specifically say you're checking the door, there's no roll necessary. If there's a trap, you find it. It can be really fun to not only level up as a character, but also level up as a player and get rewarded for using that knowledge. So if your table is into it, maybe try it out. Instead of trying to shut down any metagaming, actively encourage it and see if it's fun for you and your players. And if they ask the right questions or check the right spot, don't make them roll, just let them have the answer. They earned it. A situation where rolling is really fun, or at least very exciting, is when your player has to roll on the spell mishap table. In this system, spellcasters have to roll to cast spells instead of using spell slots, which we'll talk about next. But if a wizard rolls a crit fail on a spellcast roll, they have to roll on the spell mishap table. I love the idea of the wild magic table in D&D. I don't love the table itself, but the spell mishap table from this game is really fun. As I mentioned, no spell slots. Instead, when a spellcaster wants to cast a spell, they roll for it. The DC is 10 plus the spell level. If you succeed, you cast the spell, but if you fail, you can't cast the spell again until you complete a long rest. I really love this mechanic because it's exciting and it moves away from the resource attrition that 5e is based around. But you definitely can't just put this into your D&D game without experiencing some serious side effects, because high-level D&D spells are just way too powerful to be cast multiple times. But you could bring in a light version of this. You could add the option for your players to attempt a perfect cast on spells of, say, 5th level or lower. Spellcasters can choose to make a check when they cast a spell. If they roll a 20, they cast the spell without consuming the spell slot. If they roll a 1, they can't cast that spell again until they complete a long rest, and they have to roll on the spell mishap table. Could be fun. Speaking of resource attrition, this game provides a very simple mechanic for an issue that I see a lot of DMs struggle with. How do you stop your players from constantly long resting? Well, you interrupt their long rest. But for some reason in D&D, that can feel unfair. It can feel like the DM is trying to interrupt the rest instead of it just being because the PCs are resting in a dangerous place. Well, it turns out that it's all about consistency. This system outlines different danger levels and the interval that you should check for a random encounter for each danger level. Establishing some rules like this that the players know ahead of time takes away the feeling that the DM is out to get them. The players know the consequences of resting in a more dangerous area ahead of time, so they know what to expect. You can even have the players roll those encounter checks if you want to bring them in on that tension. Okay, now we're gonna get into the part of the video with all of the coolest mechanics, which also happens to be all the stuff that will absolutely give the game away. Have you guessed it yet? If not, it's about to get a whole lot easier. I think the next thing is the most clever mechanic in the whole game, and I'll explain why. This game has a mechanic called Carousing. It's a downtime activity where you can spend gold to go out on the town and have a good time. The more you spend, the higher your carousing bonus is. At the end of the downtime, you make a roll and add your bonus. The result will give you a narrative benefit and a number of XP. This is genius. This one mechanic completes the whole game loop. It provides more incentive to go out and get gold because you can use that gold to get more abilities, and it simultaneously sets up the next adventure by giving you a narrative reward and adventure hook. I think it's my favorite piece of design in this whole game, and you could absolutely bring this into your D&D game. If you're not doing XP leveling, then the mechanical reward could be a new item, a new spell, or even an additional feat if they roll well enough. Even if you don't want to homebrew, you could still just reward them with an item and a narrative reward. Although that's my favorite mechanic, I think the most unique mechanic is the optional character creation method that I alluded to earlier. I've never read anything like this in a game, but I absolutely love it. It's called the Gauntlet. Each player rolls up 4 level 0 characters, which are essentially commoners. These characters are dropped into a deadly dungeon, and whichever of your 4 characters survives, that's who you play. Truly survival of the fittest. Or the luckiest maybe. Not only does this add another layer of randomization to your character creation process, but it also instantly creates a shared backstory for your party. These commoners survived this incredibly harrowing experience together, so now they're gonna take up the sword and fight to bring down the villain that put them through that. This would be very easy to do in any system. Just roll a character's stats, but don't pick a class, and let them wield all basic weapons. Something that you can't bring over to D&D, but you can still learn from, is the strict inventory slots in this system. In this game, you have a fixed number of things that you can carry, which makes everything seem more valuable. It doesn't matter that you have enough gold to buy everything in the shop if you can only carry 12 things. I find that in D&D, stuff gets lost in inventory and players forget what they're even carrying. In this game, you have to carefully select each item you're going to carry, which makes each item you select more important. So what's the takeaway here? Well, in TTRPGs, scarcity can breed choices, and choices can increase engagement. Giving your party 1 health potion means they have to choose who should carry it and use it. Giving them less gold means they need to carefully pick out which equipment they want to buy. You need to find the balance here, but coming up with a way to have them pick between things instead of having it all can make those things seem more important. Speaking of inventory, quite a few inventory slots in this game will be taken up by torches. Remember, in this system, no playable race can see in the dark, but torches in this game aren't just unlimited light sources, they're real time. In fact, this whole game is in real time. There's no distinction between combat time and non-combat time. You can do time skips, but I'll let you read about that yourself. Having a real-time torch adds so much tension, and it creates this awesome contrast between the tension of adventuring and the relaxed, easygoing feeling of carousing and being safe back in town. Again, you're not going to make torches real-time in D&D, but the takeaway is that real-time elements can be really fun. Putting a ticking clock on the table is something that D&D players aren't used to, and it can be a very fun way to make an encounter or adventure feel unique and full of tension. You could have a clock that ticks down to the BBEG doing some terrible act, or until a portal closes that the party needs to escape through, or even on a smaller scale, until some magical protection that they have wears off. Real-time torches are kind of the billboard feature of this game, so did you guess it?
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
That's right, it's Shadowdark. The last reason that you should try Shadowdark is that their starter set is completely free and is packed with all kinds of awesome stuff. Even if you don't want to play the game, I'd absolutely recommend downloading it and stealing some of the roll tables because they're awesome resources. Loren and Alec and I played the starter adventure from Shadowdark recently, and we discussed our thoughts on our podcast, We Like D&D.
Favorite example of that are the NPCs. They just list a name and then brackets and 2 adjectives. And they're so great.
So what were the 2 adjectives for the guy we met?
Giuseppe?
Yeah, Giuseppe.
Crotchety and middle-aged.
Okay.
That was Kelly's Christmas present.
Yeah, I made him really weird. He was a really weird guy.
Overall, I really like the system, but our experience playing the starter set wasn't all positive. If you're curious, it's linked down below. If you liked hearing about a new system and what you can steal from it for your D&D game, check out this video here where I go through all the cool stuff in Draw Steal and what you can learn from it. I appreciate you.